Bournemouth fans, and welcome to another tier list video. And we're carrying on the video that we did yesterday with Mr. Tom Jordan. Tom, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate, thank you.
And yeah, we're doing a tier list of how Bournemouth players have done this season in the Premier League, and we've done the goalkeepers and the defenders. Well, I say the goalkeepers, you know, there were two, but yeah, some quite interesting rankings so far. No one is yet in the bin. Maybe that'll change now that we're doing the midfield. Who knows? We are here in the Firkin Shed in Holdenhurst Road, obviously on a match day. We're all watching from home at the moment, but when it's back at the stadium, make sure you come here for a beer. Great range of beers, ales, wines, you name it. It gets very busy on a match day, but it's a cracking atmosphere and a great place to socialise with home and away fans. So make sure you come here. And we look like we're sat in the Mediterranean out here, Tom. It's like it does, isn't it? It looks like we're in Spain or something. But we're going to get. You know what? We'll stick to the kind of theme, the Mediterranean theme, the Spanish theme, speaking.
Oh, my man, aren't you?
Spanish-speaking Jefferson Lerma, very happy. 33 appearances this season, 1 goal.
Chelsea.
Yeah. Where are we going to put him? Because he's a fan's favourite, isn't he?
Yeah. I want to put him at the top, but difficult. I love Jeff, and I feel like we always cried out for this sort of player. It would be horrible if we were to let him go, but also I'd equally say that I think he's too good at his role to be in the Championship. I don't feel like he ever really let us down, even though we didn't have a great season. I don't feel like he ever let us down. I even felt like when we had bad games, you thought, yeah, but Jeff was still pretty solid. The only reason I'm not going to go God, as much as I want to, is because I feel like after lockdown, he was maybe he felt like he was a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
He didn't, a few misplaced passes, not quite honest. So I feel above average, because I still think he was easily in our top 5 best players. So he's got to go at least above average. I was tempted to go God, but I feel like there's more to come from him, and like I say, after lockdown I don't think he was quite on it, but I love Jeff and I'll be gutted if he went, and wherever he goes I'm supporting them as well.
As we saw on the podcast just 7 days ago, mate, you were, well, even more than 7 actually, it was on the Wednesday night, you were wearing a Columbia shirt, so would you have got that shirt had it not been for Jeff? I don't reckon you would have.
Of course not. I hated Jefferson Lerma when England played him. In that, I remember him. He was scuffing up the penalty spot, wasn't he? Before Kane took it, and I hated him. And then when we linked with him, I thought, yeah, we need him. Do you know what I mean? But there's something about him in there. I think most fans would agree. There's something about him that you just feel like you can't not love him. And I just really hope we can keep hold of him and just say, Jeff, one season, let's keep with us for the push. And I hope so. I
really hope we can. Now, another one, Dan Gosling. He's always a goal scorer, 24 appearances, 3 goals, 30 years old, and this is, you know what, I'm going to leave this one to you, just because he's a very interesting player for us, and a lot of fans have always clamoured for the players that aren't playing, and Dan Gosling is always one that seemingly isn't, and when he has come on, he seems to do a job, but then sometimes when he gets a spell, he then seems to morph back into that sort of standard midfield that we're looking for other options again. But he's popped up 3 goals this season. How have you rated his performance?
Yeah, difficult with Dan, because I don't feel like you ever get I feel like you always get heart from Dan Gosling, and I like that. And I felt like when things aren't going well, revert back to Dan Gosling, because he'll give you 100%. And if you're not getting the performances and the heart and that, you can. That's what you can rely on with Dan. And I agree, he can poach up with the odd goal. To be fair to him, I can't remember having a hideous performance.
No.
And he scored that goal at Chelsea. What a crucial goal that was. What a massive 3 points that was. And to be fair, maybe he's not the technically best player in the world, but for his heart, for his determination, I'm going to go above average, because I feel like when he steps foot on the pitch, even if he doesn't have the best game in the world, he's giving it his all, and that's what we ask for as fans. So I feel like he deserves credit for that. And put it this way, if we were to lose Steve Cook, which obviously I don't expect us to, but he's a captain. There's not many in our squad that I feel like a lead as a captain. He's one. I feel like he leads by example, and he probably knows he's not technically the best, but even when we've tried to get a better player technically he still managed to get himself back in the team because of that, and credit to him. I think he'll go down as a real successful free transfer from Eddie.
You look at the appearances there, Jefferson Lerma 33, and Lewis Cook 27. It doesn't feel like he's only 6 appearances behind. It feels like he's played a lot less than that. It feels like Lerma's almost been there every week and Lewis Cook's just been chucked in every so often. But he's played 27 appearances. A lot of them maybe from substitute appearances off the bench, but he's got 27. And Lewis Cook, how do you feel he's done this season? Because he's always that creative player that we look to, like he can open up gaps and he can spread it from left to right, But this season, has he been as good as previous years?
I'm almost starting to feel, put it this way, I would like him to stay, but I'm almost feeling like, is he a bit of an enigma? Because we talk about him like he's this creative player and this really upcoming player. He's 23 years of age. How many assists does he get? Because I can't remember him getting many. He doesn't score. He's not a defensive midfield player. And there's no doubt there's technical quality there, and I like him as better. Like, put it this way, he's technically miles better than Dan Gosling.
Yeah, million, yeah.
But when he plays, I almost feel like, does he do much? And I feel like, given benefit of doubt, I think the injury took a lot out of him. But for me, he should be getting more goals, more assists, 27 appearances. I feel like he should be doing more.
Did he score goals for Leeds United? I don't know much about that.
I remember him scoring a screamer, but I don't remember he was a consistent goal scorer. But he was a real and Bournemouth fans, like you just said then, talk a lot about this creative. But what has he created? If I said to you, he's a creative player, you'd agree. He is a creative player. But if I said to you, can you remember a goal that he created last season? You go, no. Yeah. Because I don't. So it's a difficult one. Put it this way, when we went after lockdown and we were in a relegation scrap and we needed heart and battle, he wouldn't be in my team. And I felt like he was always the name that everyone wanted to play. But after lockdown, you see on Twitter and stuff, people saying they're 11. You want him, many. And I don't think we were brilliant in that area. I think it's a little bit harsh to go. I'm going to go average.
You were tempted to go poor, right?
I was, but I felt like it's not his fault that he's been this highly hyped.
Yeah.
And I feel that's more of a fan perception and things like that, media, because he's played for the under-21s. That's not his fault, and he's had a big injury. He wasn't awful. Every time he puts on the shirt, I never feel like he's bad.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair to put him poor, but he hasn't lived up to the expectations for me, and I expect more from him. And if he stays with us and plays regularly, he should be one of the best centre midfield players in the Championship.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Well, yeah, let's see. I agree with that. Interesting season ahead. Next, we're going to come to the 30-year-old junior Stanislas. 30 years old. But, arguably, he plays in fits and spells due to his injuries. But in my opinion, since lockdown, I think is probably the best player and almost the richest vein of form that he's ever been in for the Cherries. Maybe there was a bit in a few seasons ago, like I remember when he scored that screamer against Everton, not the 3-0 but the 1-0, and he had a purple patch around then. But in lockdown, arguably our best player, creative, and he's a player that I honestly feel could tear up the Championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's always the thing with Junior, and I feel for him, if he'll stay fit, you guarantee he's fit for every Championship game, he'll be one of the top assists. He'll be in the Championship team of the year.
You're looking at those stats. Dan Gosling played 24, 3 goals. Lewis Cook played 27. Albeit, these can be all sorts of appearances off the bench, whatever. Junior Stanislas, 15 appearances, 3 goals.
The problem with that is 15 appearances, and that's not our choice. That's Junior getting injured, and it's not his fault. But he was at West Ham as a youngster. They all liked him. It was only injuries. I feel like everything in his career has been only injuries. He's a top player. When you see him, is that
down to Eddie Howe? Bearing in mind that a lot of his career has been under the special one.
It has, and I would have to look into it to see if he got injuries as a youngster. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. But the fact is, when he's fully fit and he plays, he is crucial because he gets the assists, he puts the numbers to it. We talk about stats and stuff. He gets the numbers. He gets whether he played well or not, he gets the goals, he gets the assists, he's got set pieces, the key ingredients you need in the game. And like you say, if he would stay fit for the Championship next season, he's in the team of the year for me. He's that good. But do I think he will stay fit forever? No, I don't. So that's difficult. But 15 games, let's just say, if we chuck out the fact that he's been injured a lot. If we go on that 15 games, he's got to be above average, because when he plays, he's one of our better players most of the time. So I don't think it's fair to put him underneath people like Gosling and Lerma and that, because when he plays, he's brilliant. And like I say, after lockdown, when we needed him, he stood up.
Yeah.
I always remember the Leicester game, 1-0 down. I remember messaging you saying, we're down, mate. Second half, we went 4-1. And Junior, obviously Dom performed well in the second. Junior was the reason.
Yeah.
That second half performance was unbelievable. Yeah.
It's a shame, right? Because I've got, when you mention that, my eyes almost cloud over with a bit of tears, reminiscent joy or whatever. But it was one of these amazing performances that basically have been consigned to the dustbin, really, because it's one of the ones that happened in a season whereby we got relegated, but that performance for me was so nice for so many reasons. And Dom Solanke, who we're going to come on to, was one of the reasons. But Junior Stanislas, I mean, what a rich vein of form he had. He scored that amazing goal at Old Trafford, where he megged Harry Maguire, the £80 million fridge, and just you put it past De Gea at the near post. And I do agree with that. You can't put him in God, but based on what he's done this season for a limited time, that is basically a God rating. When you think of how many games he's played, it would be God had he played more games. So next one is a player that we'd have all put in God last season maybe, but not so much this season. 23-year-old David Brooks, 9 appearances, scored that goal against Manchester City, and he was the player before we recommenced football that everyone was looking at thinking he's going to be our saviour, but it's almost like the pressure got to him a little bit.
I felt for him, and when we talked about Lewis Cook earlier, is that all his fault? I felt like, during lockdown and stuff, we're going to have Brooksy back, we'll be fine, and I felt a little bit for him. I thought, people play. I remember when Maxi Gradle come back from a long-term injury, you play off adrenaline for a little bit, and you play well for the first couple of games. Fatigue sets in, you haven't played that competitive football for so long, it's difficult. So I feel for Brooks, because I don't think it's down to him. I tell you, the fact is, he's played 9 football matches, he's linked with Liverpool and Leicester, and it shows everyone knows what quality he has. And I've got no doubt if he would have stayed fit and he's in the Championship next season, he's one of the best players in that league. But we're going on last season, whether it's his fault or not, he played 9 games, he scored a good goal. Callum, he just tapped it in, he was in the right place at the right time. I thought he played alright when we come back off lockdown. Was he that great? No, I don't think he was. He wasn't even getting in the team at the end of lockdown, really. Yeah. I think a lot of people wouldn't have even played him. Stanislas was well ahead of him. So for me, he's got to go poor, because it's not really his fault, but you can't say someone that's playing 9 games, he probably had 2 decent games. Not fair to put him any higher than that. It's not fair to put him in the same bracket as Gosling and even in the average of like Steve Cook and Alan Smith. It's not fair. So I think poor, but not all he's doing. And I really hope we can keep hold of him, because I feel we can build a team around him if he stays fit. In the Championship, he'll be one of the key men in that league.
So next, this guy, he's an opinion splitter, Phillip Billing. He came in and fans loved him, and next week they hated him, and the week after that they loved him, and they hated him again. 34 appearances, 1 goal, Phillip Billing. What do you think?
I can't believe he's played more games than Lerma. He played 1 more game than Lerma, which surprised me. I suppose it was probably suspension for Jeff. But Bill, I spoke to a couple of Huddersfield fans just on the Billing situation, and they were bang on after having a season of him. He's technically got ability. He's a good footballer. When you need him, does he stand up? Does he puff his chest out? Does he give you some? Probably not. He's had 2 relegations in a row. You can't say that's his fault. He's at 2 clubs that will probably be expected to be near the bottom end of the Premier League. What my problem with Billing is he a defensive midfield player? No, probably not. Is he a creative midfielder? Probably not. Is he a goal scoring midfielder? Probably not. I don't really know what he does. I don't think he's a bad footballer, but what does he do? I'm not really sure what he does, and he frustrates me. Would I be gutted if Billing were to be sold? No.
Do you think we signed players a bit too much based on their performances against us? Because do you remember Jan Kermigan played a blinder against us for Charlton and scored on one of our first cracking goal it was, your first game of the Championship season, and albeit we won that match, but he scored against us before that as well, I think, maybe, and And then Philip Billing, I thought, when we played Huddersfield, there was one game that we played against them where I thought Huddersfield did really well. And it was that, what was the manager called for...
Who did they have at the time?
Werner or something?
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Werner.
Wagner.
Wagner, that was it. And he was one of their better players. And sometimes I think, is our recruitment policy that shallow that we're almost signing players that had good games against us? I mean, when he played for Huddersfield, did you see any other aspects of Philip Billing thought, I would love that?
No, I think, I'm not 100% sure how they played that day, but I know that Huddersfield have Billing and they had Aaron Moy. And both technically good footballers. Aaron Moy had heart. Aaron Moy he'd give you it. Do you know what I mean? He had a bit more about him, a bit of bite about him. And Billing just seems to go for it. I feel a bit for him because I feel like, is that just his style? Like, he kind
pedestrian.
Yeah, and he's quite gangly, and you feel like you don't want to put too much on him. But the simple fact is, he's not a defensive midfield player. He's not a goal scoring midfielder. He's not box to box. He doesn't do enough for me. But he's like, if we had him next season, do I think he'd be one of the best? Put it this way: if we were to keep all our midfielders, just say, going into next season, he wouldn't get in my 11. I would have Lerma and Lewis Cook personally, or Gosling. He wouldn't even. Billing wouldn't be my first name on the team sheet. So, but would he give us something in the Championship? Potentially. Yeah. That's what I mean. I don't know if he'd be brilliant or awful. He's still I'm not sure. But for his first season at the football club, he got relegated. He scored 1 goal. He didn't give a lot. He's got to be poor for me.
Okay, so Philip Billing has gone into poor. So that's the current state of the tier list. There it is. What are you thinking at home? Make sure you let us know in the comments. There's a player that I know you love, and he puts in a shift, but he's another one that's always the scapegoat, Andrew Surman. How can you analyse his performance this season?
Easy scapegoat. I will remind people that he kept Jack Wilshere out of the team for a little bit. No, but Surman is the type of player that I felt like he does the simple things so well. So just the amount of games where you see an amazing goal and you feel, what a goal that was. If you went back 10 seconds, Surman started it. Yeah. And people forget that. I can only remember, someone might correct me, that him starting against Sheffield United because of the injuries. He played quite well. Yeah. So he's gone. No, I'm joking. But I do love him, and I always go back to the fact that when we got promoted, he was Players Player of the Season. But on this season, he's got to be poor. He's got to be the same as Daniel Zafrano. You can't put him any higher than that. Not always his fault, but I feel like Eddie was trying to do the right thing and saying, Surman's brilliant, he's reliable, we've got to upgrade, and Lerma's an upgrade. These players are an upgrade on him. But if we were to start in the Championship, he'd be reliable, he'd do a job.
So we got 3 wingers that we spoke about earlier that are injury fears, and now we've got 3 wingers that have left the club, probably with not the kindest of thoughts from AFC Bournemouth fans. I mean, let's go with wee man to start off with, Ryan Fraser. Look, he gave some tremendous service to the club over the years, but we've got to analyse this season. Yep. It's not been great for him, is it?
No, like I say, with not so much, but like we're saying with Fallow, Surman and Daniels, I want to put them all in God, I've put them all in Paul, because we're going on this season. And Fraser had an unbelievable season. Where he nearly matched Hazard and that for assist and that. Incredible. Last season, let's go. If we look at it factually, he scored 1 goal, free kick against Everton, which was, he crossed it and it went in the bottom corner. 1 goal. And then he decided, Eddie's giving me an opportunity. We're in a relegation battle now. I ain't going to bother. He's in the bin, and that's why we've got that category on the screen.
And you know what?
I'm not someone who boos players. Mingsy was getting a few boos when he came and I thought, oh come on, do you know what I mean? Didn't really work out for us. We made a profit. It was the right move for him. Calm down. Lallana used to get boos, didn't he? For being a scummer. Come on, Fraser, I'm booing him. I'll tell you what. The fact is, he can say what he wants. The reason big clubs ain't coming in for him because they're looking at what he did for Bournemouth and thought, you know what? When they needed you, you went nah. You don't want that at your club. And he had 1, let's put it into context, he thinks he's something better than he is. He's had 1 unbelievable season. Apart from that, what's Ryan Fraser done? We sent him out on loan when we got promoted.
Do you think that players' relationships with the fans via the media channels has got a lot to answer for? Because Tyrone Mings, to all intents and purposes, was poor for us, but he was always that good communicator. always chatting on Twitter, always posted very positive tweets. Ryan Fraser deleted his Twitter account over a year ago, and there's been no direct contact with the Bournemouth fans. I know he's still got an Instagram account there, but do you feel as though his relationship with the Bournemouth fans could be improved by just engaging with them a little bit more? Because, Tyrone Mings, like, at the end of the day, like, he's still regarded pretty much. I mean, I know that the fact that we signed him for 8 million and sold him for 20 plus million is a big help, but for Ryan Fraser, could he have helped himself out a little bit by just explaining himself a little bit more, maybe?
Yeah, I agree, and you kind of almost feel like, should Ryan Fraser be punished for not being on social media? No, he shouldn't. That's not his fault. He doesn't have to be on social media. That shouldn't be how you judge a footballer. And at the end of the day, if you look at it in context, was he a best player on the football pitch than Tyrone Mings for AFC Bournemouth? Of course he was. He had one unbelievable season. Fact is, you say to me now, when a relegation battle, Tyrone Mings is out of contract, would he have stayed and played the last 10? He would have. Yeah. In my opinion, I feel like he would have. Fraser didn't. And I feel like if he had done this when he was in that season where he was unbelievable, I'd have kind of gone, you know what, you're having an unbelievable season, you want to maybe push on. Alright, he was playing poorly. That's what annoyed me more. I thought, you know what, you had one good season, mate. Put a shift in. That's what annoyed me. If he was scoring every week and we were rubbish, I'd have gone, he's too good for us. That's not the case. And I'll tell you why it's not the case, because no top 4 clubs want Ryan Fraser in their football club. And I would rather, if they're all fit, Junior Stanislas and David Brooks, Ryan Fraser, which two would you have on the wing if they're all 100% fit? Fraser wouldn't be in your team. He's had one good season. In the bin.
Shall we even talk about this next one, Jordon Ibe?
I almost feel for the guy now. You got to put him in the bin. I couldn't even remember that he came on a few times.
Do we even speak about him, or do we just move on to Harry Wilson?
We might as well move on.
Yeah.
I want to say that Jordon Ibe hasn't worked for us. I would love him to go drop down. If he were to say, I'm going to drop down to League One, I'm going to go and earn my right again and go and perform, I'd go, fair play to you, mate. But what he's done for us, he hasn't been good enough. He's been useless. It's not his fault he cost 15 million. When he's been on the pitch, he hasn't been good enough. So, in the bin.
Do you sympathise with him after the media interviews? He's done an interview, a podcast, where he says, Eddie didn't give me a chance. I think he did.
Yeah, no.
I think Eddie persevered with him.
Yeah, no sympathy for that. At the end of the day, he was playing week in, week out. He was starting every week when he shouldn't have been. I don't agree with that. There sounds like there might have been some sort of personal stuff going on for him. So hope that all gets sorted, and I hope he has a good career, because he's still young. And I would love it if there's certain players that just don't work, and it didn't work for us. At the end of the day, he was useless for AFC Bournemouth. Hope he does well for another club.
And the final one is Harry Wilson, who came on loan, and it was almost like he had something in the contract that guaranteed him a start each week, because he was in that lineup, and he scored some crucial goals, some cracking goals, but ultimately, was he played out of position? Was it his fault? I mean, there's a lot of people that are very on the fence about this guy.
Yeah, maybe. I can see why people are saying probably more suited for the number 10 role rather than out wide. What I will say is a lot of people saying that about Brooksy, but I remember the season where he had our best season for Bournemouth when he came in. He was playing right midfield then. So I don't go into that too much. I feel like Ryan Fraser is one of them players. Ryan Fraser? I feel like Harry Wilson is one of them players that score a goal out of nowhere. You want him in the squad. I never felt like he deserved to start. I never felt like he gave us enough. But during lockdown, when we needed a goal, I thought, just bring him on. Because he can just hit one. I mean, we all know about the Man City goal. Yeah. It's a really weird one, because I feel like he was not successful. I feel like he was poor. He was our joint top goal scorer.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Absolutely bizarre.
And what I will say is, as much as you can say that after lockdown, the amount of chances, the chip over Lloris, a few chances at Southampton when he come on, you feel, he blew it. But I feel like, why was no one else getting the chances? But when he come on, they all fell to him. He gets himself in the right positions. Do I feel like he was brilliant? No. Do I feel like he was awful? He was our joint top goal scorer. In a poor season, he can't have been awful. I'm going to go average.
Yeah.
As much as I want us to sign him for 10, 20 million, absolutely not. But was he horrendous in a bad season? No, he wasn't.
So we're going to move on to our attacking players, and the first of which is a player that plays in fits and starts. So, Josh King, Norwegian, 28 years old, had that kind of moment where his head was maybe turned by Man United. Didn't happen. They ended up signing Igalo from wherever he was at the time, ex-Watford player, of course. 26 appearances, 6 goals. Interesting season for him.
Yeah, that's not. I think if you had said at the start of the season, Josh King, you're going to play 26 games and get 6 goals, it's not good enough. But do you want him in your team? You do, because he's powerful. He gives you something else. Whether he plays wide, whether he plays through the middle, I feel like he's our best centre forward, and I feel like he's one of our best wingers. And he's got quality. And if he went to United, if he went to, I think Everton are linked. I mean, PSG are linked. But if he went somewhere, would he do a job? I feel like he would. Do I feel like his head was turned? Yeah, I do. So yeah, difficult one for him. I feel like I think he's been really good for us, and I really like King as a player technically. Do I feel like he's got that affiliation with fans that I feel like he gives us all the time? Probably not. For a season for him, look, I think average is the only way you can go. I don't think, for him personally, if he feels like he can go to Manchester United, he's got to do better than them numbers. Surely.
Yeah.
He's played up front for the majority. I know he's played wide occasionally. 6 goals, no, not good enough for me. I know he had a few times of injuries. I think he's got the average, and I felt like it was obvious when we played a few games and he didn't even know he was there. Then we played against United, he was brilliant. It was like, oh yeah, it's all audition, is it, Josh?
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of turned up when he wanted to, which frustrated me. But if King were to go, which I think he definitely will, I wish him all the best. I've got no animosity against Josh.
So, 35 appearances, 8 goals. It's sparse considering his previous form in the Premier League. Callum Wilson didn't score after lockdown, did he? I think.
Did he not?
I don't think he netted.
He did.
We're basing him on the whole season though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's difficult because it's saying no doubt we've got relegated. He's our joint top goal scorer with Harry Wilson, who we'll come on to later.
Yeah.
And they both scored 8 goals. I mean, no wonder we've got relegated. Do you know what I mean? It was a difficult one because I always felt like, was it Callum not making the runs that he used to, or was it the midfielders not providing him?
Difficult.
And what I will say is, after lockdown, I remember watching a few games, and we said about it earlier, Diego putting in balls. He wasn't jumping on the end of them. I feel like he's a very confident player.
He used to gamble.
Yeah.
And even in one of those performances, I think maybe in Leicester at home or whatever, I mean, we ended up winning 4-1, or maybe it was another game, maybe the Spurs one, but he did quite gamble on the cross that came in, and it ended up coming back, and then it was cleared, and he doesn't seem to have the confidence to get in those positions. And he had a lot of chances though. Man City, do you remember that shot he dragged wide of the post where arguably he should have done a lot better?
To be fair, I think at the start of the season I would have said, oh, is he getting the opportunities? But after lockdown, I tell you what, he had some chances. He did. I remember that City game, he snatched it a lot. I actually felt like because he was sub on the game, and he actually come on, and I felt he worried them, and I'd give him credit for that. I felt like he stretched them a bit and he made them worry. But when he got the ball in the decision, you could see it was a striker lacking confidence. I love Callum. It's hard not to be sentimental because I think he's done unbelievable things for the club, and I do really rate him. Do I think he's one that I think, will he go? Because I feel like
he's on a lot of money, isn't he?
He's on a lot of money, but Premier League clubs would be going, you didn't do a lot last season, did you? Are you really going to be good enough? I feel like he'd have to go to like a Villa, a lower, whereas before he would have looked at Chelsea and teams like that. I feel like, I want to say poor, but he's still our joint top goal scorer. I'm going average.
Do you think that, it seems to me that, ever since he played for England, he was dreadful.
I like to think it's a coincidence, but I can't disagree because I think if you looked at it and looked at the numbers, since he got in the England squad, he wasn't good enough. Weirdly, I felt when he did play for England, he was quite good. It's hard because you never know. Was it the other players not providing? Was it him not making them run? It was a poor season for us in the Premier League aspect, but he wasn't great. He knows. At the end of the day, if you said to Callum Wilson at the start of the season, you're going to play 35 games, you're going to score 8, he'd have said you're joking. That's average is fair.
Yeah, I know. I think so. So next we're going to go on to. I'll tell you what. We'll do Dominic Solanke.
Golden boot winner next season.
Who knows?
Look at the appearances. I know a lot of them are subs.
Yeah, 32 appearances, 3 goals. Came alive in Project Restart. He was always a player that I always felt had something, and Project Restart, without the pressure of the fans being in front of him, he seemed to thrive and scored those couple of goals. A lot of strikers say that you find sometimes a rich vein of form on the most scrappiest of goals, and let's face it was Kashmir Schmeichel probably should have saved it dribbled into the net, he scored a second moments later, and then he's like netting in our match against Everton, albeit Jefferson Lerma celebrated for him. But are we now thinking he's brilliant because he's the player that's mentioned alongside Jordon Ibe when we're thinking of the monetary signings that Eddie Howe's made, and a lot of them go, 15 million Jordon Ibe, awful, 19 million Dom Solanke, awful, but maybe those 3 goals have slightly changed a few opinions?
I think that's unfair. I think Jordon Ibe's had a lot of starts, a lot of appearances where he hasn't performed. Never his fault for being £15 million, but he's not performed. I think Dom, it's not his fault he's that price, same as Jordan. But Dom was playing, we've just seen there that he's played a lot more. He's played a fair few appearances more than Josh King, which but a lot of them are last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas Jordan Ibe, I remember we had a spell where he was starting every game when he first come to us. So I feel a little bit for Dom. It'll be really interesting to see if we use him as a kind of second striker. If we say you're our main man, go and get 20 goals in the Championship. Is he capable? I think he is. I'll always revert to the fact that he played for Liverpool, he played for Chelsea, and he's a young English striker, and they didn't think he was good enough, and they're big football clubs. That worries me. The goal against Leicester, that second goal, he's Lionel Messi. He's unbelievable.
He was compared with
Iniesta,
what? Iniesta. The feet of Iniesta. We had a podcast called that.
It's mad, isn't it? Because if he hadn't have scored them 2 goals, he'd be in the bin.
Yeah.
I've got to go Paul though.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I cannot put him on the same level as Steve Cook and Adam Smith.
But it's a work in progress, isn't it?
I'm telling you, if we'd done this in a year's time, he could be God. He could score the goals to get us promoted again, because he's got that in him. It would be really interesting to see. And if we were to play 4-4-2 next season, he's one of the strikers. I'd take it.
Yeah.
I'd take it. I think he's got something in him. He's only 22. We talked about Jack Simpson earlier. He's older. Dom Solanke's 22. It's not his fault he was that fee. We'll see.
Okay, so we have got, of course, Arnaut Danjuma. Now, many people would regard him as a midfielder, but in this we've gotten as an attacker, 14 appearances, hasn't scored, shown little flashes, and this is difficult to one to rank. I don't know whether he'll stay with us. I think he probably will. Whether he will tear up the Championship, I've got more hope over Junior Stanislas than this guy, but I don't know. How can you analyse this season?
Yeah, difficult one. I think I remember when we signed him, on one hand there was talk of, I think he was at Club Bruges before the club we got him from, and they were saying he's like the Dutch Messi, like he was unbelievable. And I've seen clips, we've all seen clips on YouTube of Ranty, so let's calm down. But it was always injuries, and we've signed him, injuries again. I remember Mohamed Koulibaly that we had. We were almost chancing on players that had the pure ability, but it was the injury problems, and we've seen it again. When he played, I remember him starting at Watford in the 0-0. I went with yourself,
yeah.
And I thought, oh, there's someone there. And then when he played against United, he come on, and I thought, oh, there's someone there. Injuries, knocks. I can see another season of him coming in and out of the team because he's getting knocks. He's not reliable.
Yeah.
Just like my worry is that our wingers, David Brooks, not really a winger, but he could play wide. Brooks, Danjuma, Stanislas. What's the first thing you think of? Injuries. They're not reliable. Is Danjuma a talented footballer? Is he a Premier League winger? Probably. I could see that already, but is he reliable? Not sure. I can't remember how much he cost. He wasn't loads, but he wasn't cheap. I think he's got to be poor because of the fact that he was a new signing, we're all excited about him, and he didn't score a goal, he didn't do anything. But is there potential? If he was to play a full season in the Championship, I feel like he'd be very good. But
does it worry you that we've got Arnaut Danjuma, David Brooks, who you could say are both injury prone, and you're thinking, Stanislas and Harry Wilson's gone, probably not going to be back, and you think, okay, we need to make some signings.
Yeah, well, that's my concern, is that they're all kind of similar positions. It's that injury. I feel like I can kind of see what he's done there. He's looked at Danjuma, he's clear. I remember he was hyped as like being a real big, the next big thing, over in Belgium when he was playing. But it was injuries that kind of hit that down on the head, and it was never gonna happen. But Eddie took a chance, thinking if I can keep him fit, and it just didn't happen. But I feel like if Eddie can't keep you fit, is he going to go down that route? If he were to put it this way, I feel like if he were to suddenly stay fit for the Championship, I feel like he could be one of the best wingers in the league. Yeah. He's clearly got ability, even in like 20-minute spells. I think, he's a player. It's just a fitness worry with him, and that's not. No, it's not all his fault. We don't know though. We don't know if he keeps himself fit or if it's just you never know with him. But am I looking forward to him being a part of our Championship squad this season? Yeah, I am actually. Yeah. I feel like he could be a good player. But he's an unknown. He's an unknown.
So finally, we're going to end on a player that thought he'd got a point for us against Southampton, apart from VAR to sadly cut in and rule it out. But he scored against Arsenal in the FA Cup, and arguably scores most times he's on a football pitch. When we started doing the podcast in 2016, albeit we weren't on YouTube at that stage, we made a thing of covering the youth, and I went over to Camford and watched the under-18s and stuff, and he was banging them in, like him and Ollie Harfield and Matty Worthington in the midfield, and they won so many matches, and Sam Surridge was the spearhead of that. And now he's playing in the Premier League, and scored against Arsenal, albeit in the FA Cup, scored against Southampton. 4 appearances in the Premier League, didn't score, but where would you rank his performance this season, Tom?
I'll tell you what, I feel like we kind of got to put into perspective how he did at Swansea, because that was this season as well, and they quite liked him. They would have liked him to be a part of that kind of push for Premier League. I feel for, and I'll tell you what, I reckon if you sat him down and said you have your time again after lockdown, would you have brought him on more after lockdown when we needed a goal? I think he would have said yes, because at the end of the day, he barely come on after lockdown. When he did come on, yes, it was ruled out for VAR. He put the ball in the back of the net the first time the ball dropped to him.
A lot of fans were clamouring for him to start, and he never did.
Yeah, I felt like I can understand him not starting, but I felt like there was a few games I thought, why is he not chucking him on last 15? And I'll tell you what, the first time he did, ball dropped him, he put it in the back of the net. He didn't know Callum was offside. And Swansea quite liked him for that. He come off the bench, notched a few goals. If we were to get, this is me assuming that Callum and Josh will go. If you were to say we get one striker in, and then we've got Dom Solanke and Sam Surridge, I feel like Dom and Sam could both notch a few goals. I like what I've seen, but I haven't seen enough. The Swansea fans quite liked him without being like, oh my god, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I like him. How old is he? How old is Sam? I'm not sure how.
22.
Yeah, there's still something there.
22 years old, yeah.
I'd like him to be given the opportunity to at least be in the squad in the Championship, but I wouldn't want us to rely on him to be the main man, put it that way. I feel like it's fair to go average, because he never started in the Premier League. He done well at Swansea, come back, he scored a goal that was ruled out, but it's not fair to put him then above Steve Cook. But yeah. I'm interested to see how he does.
There you go then. That is the tier list on your screen now. Do you agree with that? In the bin, Ryan Fraser, Jordon Ibe, and you can see there, Paul, Jack Simpson.
I don't like looking at Surman and Paul.
No, I know we're analysing on the season rather than as a whole, and Ramsey and Ake up the top. I think everyone pretty much agrees with that, but do you agree with it? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. Tom Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
And you, mate.
Thank you very much, and make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and do subscribe as well. More content on the way, but until then, up the cherries.